You know that feeling, right? That gut instinct that feels absolutely 100% correct, only to find out way later that you were missing a huge piece of the puzzle? Well, let's dive into that. Because our brains are constantly, and I mean constantly, taking these little mental shortcuts. They create instant judgments that feel incredibly real. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on exactly how that system works.
So this is really the central mystery we're tackling. Why is it that a first impression, that snap judgment, carries so much emotional weight? Why does it feel so convincing in the moment? It's a super powerful and, yeah, sometimes pretty misleading feature of how our minds are wired.
All right, so let's start with something we've all experienced, that immediate feeling of certainty. It happens all the time. It's when our minds just seem to leap from a tiny, tiny scrap of information straight to a solid conclusion. Picture this. You're walking out of a meeting. One of your colleagues says this. The conclusion is instant, right? It's effortless and it feels completely solid. You can almost feel the certainty. It's like they've cracked the code of the entire meeting with just that one little observation. But then another colleague chimes in with this. It's more hesitant, a lot less sure, and it opens things up. It creates ambiguity instead of shutting it down. And right here, in this simple back and forth, you can see the two paths our brain can take. One path gives you that rush of clarity, and the other one, well, it just leaves you with more questions.
And this happens with the information we consume too. You're scrolling, you see a headline like, "New study proves coffee doubles health risk," and bam, a judgment forms, instantly. Maybe you think coffee is poison, or maybe you think the study is total junk. Either way, that conclusion arrives in seconds, long before you've even had a chance to click and read the article. It's a clean, simple answer that just cuts right through the noise.
So why do we trust these fast thoughts so much? I think it's because we have this really powerful, intuitive belief. If a conclusion comes to us quickly and it feels clear, well, it must be smart. Speed feels like competence. But is that always really the case? Okay, now this is really interesting because it breaks down two very different kinds of fast thinking. On one side, you've got genuine expertise. You know, the chess master who just glances at a board and instantly sees the winning move. That's deep pattern recognition, and it's built from studying like 10,000 different games. But then on the other side, you've got what most of us do. Rapid simplification. That's meeting someone for the first time and deciding we know their entire character based on their handshake. And here's the real catch. To our brains, they feel the same. Both of them deliver that same rush of clarity. We confuse the two all the time.
So to really get a handle on this, let's introduce a big idea for this whole process. I want you to think of your mind as a kind of compression chamber, something that's constantly working to manage a total flood of information. This is the key term right here, cognitive compression. It's basically the process of taking messy, complicated reality and squeezing it down into a simple, manageable summary. And the most important thing to get here is that this is not a mistake your brain is making. It's a feature, not a bug. It's designed to be efficient, to help us survive. And this shows you exactly how it works. Step 1, all this complex, high-res information comes flying into your mind. Step 2, this creates what you could call cognitive pressure. It's just too much to hold on to. So, step 3, to relieve that pressure, your brain starts stripping out details, getting rid of nuance. And finally, step 4, a simple, low-resolution story pops out the other side. It's clean, it's easy, and most importantly, it lets you take action. And let's be clear, this process is absolutely essential. Our brain's resources are limited, you know? We can't sit around analyzing every single piece of data from the world. So these shortcuts, they save us precious energy, they give us emotional comfort by getting rid of uncertainty, and they give us that satisfying sense of closure that just lets us move on. But all that efficiency isn't free. Nope. It comes with a cost, an unavoidable one. It creates this permanent tension in how we think, the trade-off between speed and depth.
This table just lays it all out perfectly. When you choose speed, when you choose compression, what do you get? You get closure and the ability to act. But what's the price? You lose detail and the flexibility to change your mind. And how does it feel? Oh, it feels decisive and certain. On the flip side, if you go for depth and analysis, you get nuance and accuracy. But it's going to cost you energy and time, and it often feels kind of hesitant and ambiguous. You just can't have it all. Every single judgment is a choice between these two columns.
So, what happens when this system goes wrong? Well, it breaks down when that simple little summary our brain creates just isn't good enough for the complex reality we're actually facing.
Let's take a hiring decision. An interviewer is totally charmed in the first 5 minutes. That compressed positive impression, this person is great, it just colors the rest of the interview. They start unconsciously looking for evidence to confirm their snap judgment, and then, weeks later, they discover these huge performance gaps that the shortcut completely missed.
Or think about an online argument. A simple, emotionally charged story about a really complex issue goes viral. It's so easy to understand, so easy to share. And even when you present people with contradictory facts, with deep historical context, that original compressed story is incredibly sticky. It just feels more real than the complicated truth.
And this happens in our personal lives too. You get that text message, "We need to talk." What does your brain do? It compresses all that ambiguity into the simplest, most emotionally powerful story it can find, which is usually that something is terribly wrong. The anxiety is totally real, even if the actual conversation ends up being about something completely boring.
So when we consistently mistake these compressed shortcuts for real understanding, these larger patterns start to take hold. We get trapped in these overconfidence cycles, we escalate our commitment to bad ideas, and we fuel polarization as these simple stories just battle it out. It all leads to this state of what you could call false clarity, where we feel so certain about things that are actually incredibly complex.
So, what's the solution? Here's the most important point. You can't stop your brain from doing this. It's a core function. The goal isn't to eliminate shortcuts, it's to get better at noticing when you're using one. And this is the trickiest part of all. That feeling of clarity, it's part of the compression process. When your brain successfully cooks up a simple story, it feels like you're seeing the whole picture. Your mind just conveniently forgets that any details were ever thrown out. The shortcut actually hides itself. And this brings us to the final, really powerful idea I want to leave you with. What if that feeling of certainty, that satisfying aha moment of clarity, what if it isn't actually a signal that you're right? What if it's just the feeling of your brain successfully squishing a messy reality into a neat and tidy package? Just thinking about it that way, well, it might just change how you trust your own gut feelings from now on.